Alrighty, so let's jump into it. This is the Visto live video covering the Newfoundland and Labrador PNPs. It is May the 3rd, 2020, so we are still in the midst of COVID, and we will get to some updates that apply directly to Newfoundland and Labrador. If you're not watching this live, definitely make sure to join the community at Visto.ai free immigration portal with tons of information like this on PNPs and all that type of stuff. So I'm going to get right into the episode here. It won't be too long because there's not too many programs going on in Newfoundland and Labrador, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an outline of each of them so you can kind of understand your options. And then of course, always at the end, for those who are here live, I will be doing a Q&A. Made, thank you for that lovely comment. I really appreciate it, and hopefully you'll stick around as well for the live Q&A. Let's dive right into it. So Newfoundland and Labrador, way out east in Canada. I actually have never been there personally. Good morning, Gabriel. Thanks for tuning in live. Appreciate it. We're going to jump right into it, and I'm going to save the questions for the end. But in short, Newfoundland and Labrador, it'll be a pretty quick video because they only have 3 PNP streams. So as normal, what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy and paste this link into the chat if you do want to follow along. If you're watching this video after the fact, you will find that link in the description of the video so you can follow along as well. So, long story short is I have good news and bad news. Good news is the program is pretty straightforward for Newfoundland and Labrador. There's not that many streams. And then also what we're going to do at the end of the video is there's a few FAQs based on the COVID scenario. I'm going to go through those with you quickly as well. The bad news is that pretty much all these streams require a job offer. So that's another reason why I'm going to go through it relatively quickly. Now, they do not all require an LMIA, which is good news because having an LMIA makes it even harder. It makes employers even less worthy to want to sponsor you to begin with. But these streams do require a job offer. And so I'm sorry to say that, but that being said, it's totally out of my control. But hey, maybe Newfoundland and Labrador employers are having a really tough time hiring because it's not the most popular province in the world. And so if you're able to land a job with a company out there, could be a really good opportunity with less competition. So first of the 3 streams is the Express Entry Skilled Worker stream. Now, you'll see some updates and some new stuff here. What they're saying is there's an interesting... So, you know what? First, let me go into the requirements first. The requirements are very straightforward. So first, basically saying you need to be in the Express Entry pool. That's pretty much what point number 1 says. Second, saying that you need a high-skilled job offer from a Newfoundland and Labrador employer. All right, so that's kind of a bummer, but it does not mention an LMIA. So that's a good thing. Because, as I mentioned earlier, LMIAs make it a pain in the ass. Now, the other thing is, so a few more eligibility requirements. So 67 points out of 100 on the PNP point assessment grid. So you can just click the link there. Again, this is pretty much like almost every other grid we've seen, right? So based on Express Entry has their own grid, and a bunch of all these provinces have their other grids. So it's based on things like education, skilled work experience, language, so how you do on the language exams, age, etc., etc. I'm not going to go into detail on this because it's super basic and everyone can calculate that by themselves. So this is meant for people that are within the country for a few reasons. Number 1, because you need to have an IRCC work permit with at least 4 months remaining, or be entitled to apply for one, so you have to be eligible for a work permit. Have a Canadian or an ECA. So this is basically just in line with Express Entry. Demonstrate the intention and ability to settle permanently in Newfoundland and Labrador. So that goes back to, again, this is kind of similar to other provinces, right? You have to prove some type of connection. That could be a job offer, family there, having gone to school there, having traveled there before, maybe you have some networks there, all that kind of fun stuff. Have sufficient funds, so that's related to the Express Entry requirements, language exam results, etc., 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 etc. And then there's a few ineligibility things, so having to do with refugee claimants who've been rejected, criminal record, unresolved custody child support disputes. This is kind of like specific stuff that I'm going to let everybody look into specifically. There's also a mention here that says, if you hold a post-grad work permit, you may be eligible if you are accepted into the Express Entry pool. So again, that applies to people already within Canada, because if you have a post-grad work permit, you have to have studied in Canada and then gotten a post-grad work permit. So those people who do have a post-grad work permit, maybe you're struggling to land a job in certain provinces or struggling to get enough points, this could be a good option for you as well. So that's pretty much it for this first stream, and then I believe it's online. Yeah, when you use the online application process, you'll receive a dashboard. So this is an application itself. As you'll see, you can go into the guide, of course, which has much more information, but I don't want to go through 31 pages worth of a PDF, because especially if this doesn't apply for a lot of you. So if it does apply to you, then I recommend that you do your due diligence. So you'll see it breaks down the steps. So number one, obviously you need an Express Entry profile, and then you're actually submitting a PNP application. So this is not a situation where you're waiting for a nomination. You actually have to actively reach out for the application. So that's number one for the Express Entry skilled workers stream. Again, I'm going to go through these relatively quickly because most of them require a job, and I know a lot of the folks who are struggling to get their score high enough, you're already outside of the country and you don't have a job, right? Because if you had a job offer, you wouldn't be in this situation right now. So let's get into the second one. This is the skilled workers stream. So this is for international workers and prospective immigrants who have skills that are beneficial to the labor market. So you need a guaranteed offer of employment or to be currently working in the province on a valid work permit. Again, there is no mention of an LMIA, but the job offer should be for at least 2 years with the possibility of an extension from an eligible employer with salary, etc., etc. Yeah, so it can't be like a short-term position, less than a year, etc., etc. There's a few other requirements, so between 21 and 59, an immigration work permit with at least 4 months remaining, or entitled to apply for one. I don't know what they mean by or are entitled to apply for one, because technically anybody could be entitled if you have a job offer or something like that. So that might prove to be difficult, but the rest have to do with similar to the first one we said. And then there's ineligibility here, in which case you must. Okay, so this is talking about if you have a post-grad work permit. So this is actually very similar to the first one. So these streams are kind of like, I don't really understand why they just didn't kind of group these into one, because the requirements are very, very similar. I guess this one is for people kind of falling outside of the Express Entry eligibility. That seems to be the difference here, because a lot is the same. And then again, there's screening. So again, you have to apply for this one as well if you think that you qualify, and if you think you may qualify. So if you do have a job offer, then you're going to want to review the entire guide yourself. So I'll leave that up to you folks. Again, I don't want to go into extreme detail because I know a lot of our users do not have job offers from Newfoundland and Labrador employers. Number 3 is the international graduate stream. And so again, this is people who have a post-grad work permit and a job or job offer from a Newfoundland and Labrador employer. So again, I'm just going to highlight this one super quickly because I know most of our users would not qualify, but we do want to make sure, again, you're applying for this. This is not a nomination through the Express Entry stream. Hey, Elena, thanks for tuning in. So if you hold a post-grad work permit, it's saying to basically go through the Express Entry stream, and then here is the list of requirements. So you completed at least half of your studies in Canada, graduated from an eligible Canadian university or college. Basically, you need to have done a bunch of studying in Canada, and then there's some other requirements here as well. Again, related to our typical Express Entry stuff. So language requirements, intention to settle and permanently live in Newfoundland and Labrador, sufficient funds, etc., etc. There's some ineligibility. So for example, you haven't completed your studies and then you're a student who is studying in Canada under sponsorship and that expects you to return to your home country, etc., etc., etc. So again, I'm not going to go into full detail on this because I don't believe it applies to too many Visto users, but if you are a graduate who's done a bunch of studying in Canada, this option may apply. If not, and you're able to secure a job offer, one of the first two may apply, so the Express Entry skilled worker or just the skilled worker stream if you're struggling with Express Entry. The other thing I want to do here, that's pretty much it. They only have 3 streams, so as you'll see, although they do fall under the Atlantic Opportunity Program, I'm going to cover that in a separate video of its own, so I'm not going to go into the Atlantic Canada program. But there are some FAQs here regarding COVID. I'm going to go through those quickly because some of them might be important. So basically, really quickly, are they open during the pandemic? They're not closed for in-person, but they are responding to emails and telephone inquiries. There may be delays by mail. They do have online webinars for employers, international workers, and other people. So you might want to be checking out some of those webinars. They are still accepting applications through their online portal, so don't be submitting any paper applications. They won't be receiving them. Business immigration applications. So yes, that is still proceeding. Please refer to the OIM website. So let's check out that really quickly. Okay, so that's for prospective entrepreneurs, basically. So kind of like the investor streams from other programs. Will job vacancy assessment applications be processed? Okay, this is up to the ESDC, basically. And so there should be delays there. I don't even know what the job vacancy assessment process is. But yes, basically what they're saying is they're accepting applications, but they must be online. They cannot be by paper. And I'm trying to see if there's anything else. Processing delays. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Basically, they're still accepting online applications. There may be delays. And then there's some questions about IRCC and stuff like that. So that's pretty much it. I'm not going to go into huge detail, especially on programs that require job offers, but I did highlight each of them, and you do have the link to check them out in more detail. So that's pretty much all I intended on covering here. Again, this is kind of a general summary, so that you know which programs to dig deeper into. I'm going to end the video here. For those watching after the fact, definitely sign up as we go into more detail on one PNP each weekend live in the Visto Facebook group. You can join at visto.ai, totally free. You also get access to the free portal. So I take all of these videos, I throw them up in the portal. So for anyone who's watching live or after the fact and you are a Visto member, you can go into the Visto portal. Under the immigration tab, click PNPs, and you can find all of these videos. I've done them across the entire country. We're almost done, actually. So we have BC, Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Ontario. We skipped Quebec. We did Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. All of those videos can be viewed in the portal itself. For everyone who tuned in live, I appreciate it. And as you know, I'll be sticking around for a Q&A. Thank you again for tuning in. We are going to start the live Q&A right after I take a sip of water.